I, on behalf of SIM, welcome Mr. Tirunmurthy sir and request sir to start his lecture. Thank you, sir.
So, shall I go ahead?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can.
Okay, thank you.
hear sir.
So, first of all, I thank the management and the college for arranging this webinar, and especially thank Mr. Nagaraj Principal for having given me this opportunity of presenting to you on webinar on zero energy, zero waste concept. So, to go to the subject directly, I will lead to a sequence of issues that is compelling us, that is motivating us to go to that kind of concept of zero energy concept. Maybe I can call that as a zero carbon footprint concept and zero carbon emission concept, whatever we can call that. But mostly it is the green concept. You can see that the ozone, hole in the ozone is becoming bigger and bigger, and we have seen a lot of climatic change effects during the previous century. And this graph shows that there is a constant, there was a constant temperature up to 2000. After that, it is alarmingly rising due to the global temperature rise and climate change effects, ozone layer issues, and a lot of things. Mainly because of emissions, carbon emissions and greenhouse gas emissions. So before going to the actual subject, I will also inform you about some basic statistics of our country, India, how the power is produced and how the power is, we receive the power. Nearly we have nearly 3,70,000 megawatts in our country, of which nearly 86,000 megawatt is from renewables, apart from hydro 45,000. But even though we have nearly 25% of capacity in renewables, you very well know that the PF of renewables is far less than the conventional thermal generators. Thermal generators will normally have a plant load factor of nearly 80 to 85%, whereas renewables will have only 15 to 16% in solar and 25 to 30% in wind energy. So the contribution of this is all India statistics to show that which sector is contributing, whether it's the private sector or central sector, state sector, but mostly renewables are private sector. Like we can, as you see in the graph, most of the thermal are in the state sector, and most of the renewables are in the private sector. Nearly out of 86,000 megawatts, nearly 82,000 megawatts are from private sector. And the contribution from this is all India peak, to comparing with the total generation capacity, what we have nearly 3,70,000 megawatts. The peak of India is only hardly 1,70,000 megawatts. So that means we have in India double the capacity of what we need. As on today's scenario, we have nearly double the capacity. So this is the scenario of renewable addition. You can see that from zero, today it is 86,000. Plan by plan, the contribution of renewables is increasing. And as on today, Government of India has planned to have nearly 1,75,000 megawatts of renewables before 2020. That means nearly the peak demand requirement of as on today will be the capacity of renewables as on 2020. But at the same time, we have a lot of challenges in doing that. That is a separate subject altogether. But I can tell you the importance of renewables. But this is a contribution of renewable generation, actual generation. It is hardly 10% of the total requirement because of the less capacity utilization factor of renewables especially. So when we go to the pollution side, uh, nowadays we are facing a very toughest time. I should tell you that I should wish everybody a safe passage during this difficult global situation. But before that, pollution was the biggest issue, very biggest issue. Even schools and colleges were closed in Delhi due to pollution. That was the scenario of pollution in, especially in Delhi and North India. They measure by particles of less than 2.5 micro cubic meter. That is the quality of what the pollution versus health is related. We can see that when the PM level is below 30, that is good, and minimal health impact is there. When it is 31 to 60, it is just satisfactory, but minor breathing discomfort to sensitive people who face some issues already. 61 to 90, moderate breathing discomfort to people with sensitive lungs, asthma and heart diseases. 91 to 150 is really poor breathing discomfort to most of the people on prolonged exposure. And 151 to 250 is very, very poor respiratory illness and prolonged exposure. 250 plus is very severe, affects healthy people and seriously impact those with existing disease. After this finding out these pollution levels, people estimated the life structure in especially in Delhi. What they say is that one who lives permanently in Delhi lose 6 years of life due to pollution alone. So that is the kind of pollution what we see today in most of the cities, especially in Delhi and North India. This is, you can see that particular matter in 2010. You can see the PM 2.5 is more serious issue than any other thing. It is 150 micrograms per meter. In the January 2015, it became 226 micrograms per meter. That is the kind of pollution what we see in Delhi. You can see 226 means it is almost, it is going to cause respiratory illness and prolonged exposure. Who lives in Delhi, most of the children in Delhi are affected by this respiratory illness situation.
By writing an email to
So,
HR,
so we are very much worried about what we have.
Tickets along with the offer letter.
So this is the issue that is getting alarmingly very critical.
For completion within Saturday.
So in 2013 itself, we have already crossed the danger zone as per the UN report. It has the CO2 threshold of 400 parts per million.
Yeah, you can do it.
It's already crossed the threshold levels 2013 itself. So we are facing very critical pollution levels even during 2013 when the Paris meet was organized in 2015, where we, India and most of the countries in the world are part of this agreement, and we have signed that agreement, and we have agreed that we will reduce our pollution levels nearly 30%, so that the temperature, rising temperature is limited to nearly 2 degrees. That was the agreement in 2015. That is being implemented now in our country also. So during that study, they made a study. Who pollutes more? Where comes the pollution?
I've observed many times.
So they have the study outcome is that nearly 45% of the pollution
asking any
comes
personal work.
from electric power
I'm
generation.
asking college work.
So power generation is the main culprit
I told him that
for
it's not.
I have
making
full
the
right to
emissions,
fire anybody.
especially
I have
CO2
given
and
enough
greenhouse
time.
gas emissions.
And I'm asking
So our target now, our government's target
That's correct answer. What you're
is
saying.
towards
Also, you
the
can get it from your
reduction
student.
of emissions from thermal stations.
For me,
So in India,
go one
if
by
you
one.
see the comparisons, so this is another chart show that coal-based generation, this share is really more than 30%. So they have started that the emissions. So they have promulgated some schemes to see that emissions are cut to the level. So who has to start that? Everybody has to start.
Coimbatore.
Starting from home to the industries, to the power generation, the transport, so every walk of life, we should see that carbon emission is reduced, to see that pollution levels are brought down, and the temperature, rise in temperature is limited. And like during these 3 months time when the transport is cut and people's movement is restricted, everybody shared their views that pollution levels have come down, and we could see Himalayas from Amritsar, a lot of things people are posting in the public domain that pollution levels have dropped, and we have a good air and good breathing environment. Animals are having a good times during this time. It shows that our way of life have created lot of emissions to the extent that we are, due to the emissions, we are increasing the temperature of the world day by day, and the one by one the living organisms, plants, trees, birds and living things will get extinct, and it will create a grave situation for the human living. That could be the situation tomorrow. So India could face crippling heat waves. First thing is that it will affect the agriculture produce, and agriculture produce will increase in global temperatures. So we have another phenomena also coming in, especially for the urban people. It's called the urban heat island. You can always experience that urban area is warmer than the rural area, because urban structures retain the heat, and the heat envelope is created, and heat island is created. This is a phenomena that is already coming, and we should also see that our temperature levels are at least maintained in this level before the century, to see that we have a good living in the cities. To counter this urban heat island, what people do that is that people started having air conditioners in individual houses. Even today, as of today, almost all the middle class people have 1 or 2 or 3 air conditioners in their houses. They export the heat outside. So the heat outside doesn't go anywhere. It will be within this envelope, urban heat island, and it will cause more damages to the other living structures, trees and birds, other things, and we may lose a lot of things. So it is better that we contain our heat, reduce our heat, and see that any avenue is there to reduce the heat. So people have, after all these issues, people have started fighting like this, not fighting against the nuclear stations, fighting against the thermal stations. Protesters wear green hard hats as they attend a press conference that was during 2015 to support an early deadline for converting the state's only coal-fired plant from coal to cleaner energy sources. Especially in Washington, they have decided to close the thermal station. But for your information, I can tell you that United Nations have come out with a plan and advised all the nations to close down thermal station by 2200. So after 2200, we may not see any thermal stations in the globe. And there are some advanced leading countries like Denmark and Germany, which has an advanced roadmap. Especially in Denmark, they have planned to go for green country by 2050, including the aviation. They will close down all their thermal plants by 2030, and almost today, even certain days, they generate more than the power what they for the nation from wind energy alone. So Denmark is already generating more than their sufficient requirement, and they have planned to go for green energy by 2030, and including aviation, it will be 2050. So a lot of other countries like Germany also have a roadmap to see that they reach the target earlier than what UN has prescribed. So they understand the gravity of this situation. So now this is the situation. We require energy. We are actually uh, struggling to meet the world standards. So if you compare the standards of living, it is directly related to per capita consumption of energy. So what we have is in India we have nearly almost 1,000 units per person per day per year, whereas in advanced countries and very advanced countries, it is in the order of nearly 16,000 units per person per year. But world average is nearly 3,000. We are hardly near 1,000 units. So we are trying to increase our demand. But at the same time, as per the Paris Agreement and other agreements, we are compelled to reduce our emissions. We have already found out that our emissions are mainly nearly 45% to 50% emissions are mainly due to thermal station. In India, the mix of thermal station is that nearly 70% of the energy what we use today is from thermal station. We can very well say that 1 unit of electricity, what we use, emit nearly 1 kg of carbon. Normally, we'll have a saying that one family should grow one tree. A middle class family consumes nearly 10 units per day. That means nearly 3,000 to 3,500 units per year. A fully grown tree consumes, to counter the carbon emission, we plant trees. A fully grown tree will consume 20 kg of carbon per year. That means each and every family should grow at least 150 trees. That is not possible. That's nearly impossible. So what is to be done? It is to be the root cause analysis has to be done. What is the root cause? Power emissions is due to thermal generation. So we have to reduce the thermal generation. Now, by this fact of having a higher demand and reducing the carbon emission, is there a way out in our scenario? Conflicting resources, rising carbon emissions, frequent power outages, but as on today India, we have double the capacity. But we are now compelled to reduce the carbon emission. So this is the pyramid for that. We have the pyramid at the bottom. We have a very great opportunity in energy conservation. Then comes efficient way of using the energy. Then it's renewables. Renewables in our country, it is abundant. It is abundant. We can meet all the energy needs from renewables. That is a fact in India. But before going into that, because that's a costly affair, before going into that, we have a lot of opportunity in energy conservation, energy efficiency. After exhausting these two issues, then we can go to renewables, which is abundant. Next generation need not worry that we have exhausted all the energy or all the coal, all the petroleum products. We have renewables. But we have to learn how to use the renewables, how to integrate the renewable energy into the grid, and to see that we are better using the renewable energy. So now the country comes with a missions, lot of missions to see that National Action Plan of Climate Change, as envisaged by Paris Pact, is being enacted in India. First thing is the solar national mission, national solar mission, national mission for enhanced energy efficiency. So a lot of missions have been started out to see that we contain the climate change. Otherwise, this would be the scenario which nobody wants to be part of this. When Dr. Kalam was there, he used to advocate that we can conserve energy, and to his knowledge, he says that we can conserve, we can reduce our consumption to nearly 50% in each household. That was his statement. His statement is that we can reduce 50% of the energy by conservation, by better efficiency, and of course, at last, renewables. But to my experience and my practical experience, I can say that each and every household can reduce 100% of the energy drawn from the grid. So I demonstrate that. I can show you that it is doable. So to talk about the renewables, it is very advantageous. It is perennial. It is available locally, usually modular in nature, and it is environment friendly. And after all that, it is well suited for decentralized application. Now, prior to this century, people were focusing on the centralized generation, a large mega size generation plants. We used to start from 100 megawatt, 250 megawatt, then 500 megawatt, then 1000 megawatt. Even today, there are some plants which have nearly 4000 megawatts of capacity generating power. But in future, when we concentrate on renewables, now we'll focus on decentralized applications. So the past 5 to 10 years, there are a lot of study on decentralized way of distributing power, and we have a lot of case studies where successfully demonstrated that decentralized power distribution is possible, especially from renewables. This is a graph to show that what will be the future. So people estimate that future will be with more of solar and supporting renewable from wind and certain extent biomass and other energy. So this one is a very simple thing, very common one, but still people have to adopt that. This is a simple solar water heating system that can replace the geysers. Each and every household, if can replace the geysers, they can save up to 1,500 units per year. 1,500 units per year can be saved. That means nearly if you can divide by 20, nearly 75 trees equivalent to growing 75 trees. Who can grow 75 trees? Simple thing is that you can replace your geysers from solar water heaters. I can tell you that from my experience, I am using solar water heaters for more than 25 years. Until today, I have not faced any issues because I live in Coimbatore, and part of the year in Coimbatore we will have a chill climate. Apart from March and April, May, all other days in our city requires hot water for bathing and other usages. And cities like Bangalore, Pune, Bombay, they also require this kind of hot water requirement, especially for household requirement and institutions. And easily replaceable unit is this. This can save nearly 1,500 units per year per family. You can see that the amount of water heaters that has been, if you travel to China, you can see that each and every household has a solar water, even though the sunshine hours are less, sunshine days are less. In India, we have nearly 300 sunny days. Comparing to China, they have hardly 150 sunny days. And most of the European countries have hardly 150 to 200 sunny days. In India, we are blessed with nearly 300 to 330 sunny days. And around the year, you can have a better solar energy on your roof. So you can see that each and every household in China has a solar water heater. So much of importance they give to this unit. In India also, certain cities like Pune and Bangalore, they have made it mandatory for the usage of solar water heater. So this is one of the system that is used in theme park to heat the water. This is one of the application, industrial application, where they manufacture cable. For that, they require hot water for processing their product. So they have installed in larger size solar water heater to supplement their hot water requirement. Number of industries nowadays install the solar water heater at least to have solar hot water for their process or to supplement their boiler with the hot water inlet. So this is a good arrangement and a successful application in the industry zone. So this is another beautiful arrangement. This is called light pipe. You can see that the light pipe carries light from your rooftop and it can bring to your place wherever you require the lighting. This is not a bulb that is lit by electricity. This is a bulb that is the light brightness that is transferred through this pipe to anywhere you want. So this is also possible. During the daytime, you can save electricity and have a natural light inside wherever you want. So this is one of the office building at Coimbatore where they have brought in the daylight inside without using the electricity. This is also possible. This is another innovative item, even though we can see that this is also a bulb. This is simply a water water bottle, which is used to bring in the daylight inside your room. A lot of this kind of installations you can find it in Vietnam, where they have done this. So another application, very good application is solar pumping. If you can, I'm not going to elaborate on solar installations, but I can tell you that solar pumping is a unique way of solar application, because any solar application, solar PV, electricity generation, cannot work without the usage of grid or battery or generator. Any one of the three should be associated with the solar panel, otherwise solar panel will not generate electricity. But this is the only application, solar pumping, which doesn't require any of the three. It is a standalone application with variable frequency drive. It can operate during the daytime, isolated and also remotely controlled. Nowadays it is possible to remotely control also. So solar pumping can be there where there are no grid or there are very weak grids. So the government of India and most of the governments are behind this kind of application. A lot of agriculture pump sets are replaced by this kind of systems. So it saves a lot of electricity, a lot of emissions are contained. So this also is possible tomorrow, air conditioning by using solar heat energy. The number of installations are available in other countries. Even in our country, a lot of models and pilot models have already been erected and successfully operated. So in solar application, there are two types of application at domestic level. One is that it can be off-grid. It can generate power, can store in the battery, I can simultaneously, you can operate your equipment and excess power can be stored in the battery, and whenever this sun light is there, sun source is not there, you can operate your equipment from the stored energy. In tomorrow's scenario, energy storage is going to be a very big activity. In another 3 to 5 years time, energy storage will play a major role in electricity business. So it will become very cheaper, and everybody would like to go off the grid because it saves a lot of money. You can generate your own power. The roof gives you more power than you require, nearly 4 to 5 times of the power what you require. That much of power is available on the roof. Only that you have to tap it and use it comfortably. So another system is that you connect it to the grid. It interacts with the grid. Whenever the power is generated, you along with the load, you use the load. Excess power is pumped to the grid. Or whenever the solar is not there, you take the power from the grid. Grid acts as a storage device for you. So it's a net metering arrangement. And whatever the power you have exported to the grid, you can utilize. This is the on-grid arrangement for solar. So this is a net meter arrangement in the houses. Most of the states have allowed net meters, especially for the domestic sector. Because especially for the domestic sector, you generate the power during the day and use the power during the night times and during the evening peak time. So net meter arrangement is a very good arrangement for them. You export the power during the daytime, when you are not there, when you do, your equipment doesn't require supply, and whenever you want it, you take the power from the grid. Is the net meter arrangement. Most of the states have allowed this kind of arrangement. So we now go to the green building concepts. Green building concepts are now picking up, and in the past 5 to 10 years, number of buildings have opted for this kind of concept, and number of buildings even they have gone for zero energy concepts. So green building is the practice of creating structures and using the process that are environmentally responsible and resource efficient throughout a building's life cycle, from sitting to design, construction, even procuring the materials, operation, maintenance, renovation, and destruction. This practice expands and complements the classical building design concerns of economy, utility, durability, and comfort. Green building is also known as a sustainable because other source of energy are not sustainable, as we have seen that thermal energy naturally also it will die down due to depletion of coal, and by the compulsion, social compulsion and political compulsions, we are going to phase out the thermal generations, so we will be left out with green power. So green building construction is rapidly gaining momentum, especially in India. Key green building features, you see that you absorb more daylighting, so your rainwater harvesting, entire rain, what you get in your space is collected and safely stored so that you can use it throughout the year. Nowadays there are buildings, especially domestic buildings, which harvest the energy, rain in their rooftop and use it for almost throughout the year. Almost throughout the year. There are a number of case studies available, and this is doable today. This is doable. And recycle the water. Anyway, that is possible, and many people are doing that. And using renewables are abundantly available today, and only that it's a matter of cost in the previous years. Today it is almost grid parity has come for solar and wind, and you can use the renewable power to the extent you want. Renewable power energy is available. So building a green roof which reduces the consumption of energy. So anyway, you have to see that water is efficiently used, because we may end up with the water scarcity also. So better go to HVAC system to see that energy is consumed less. So benefits of green building: energy savings, water conservation, low carbon footprint, reduced environmental impact, better indoor conditions. Indoor air quality is definitely improved. This is one building that is available in Coimbatore. This is the world's second highest rated green building. They are aiming to go to the first rank, but as on today, here you can go to their website and see what are all they have done. Because if I list out all these things, it may take another 1 or 2 hours what they have done. This is a Sierra building. You can go to their website and see that what all they have done, how they have managed. This is the world's second highest rated building in green concept. So this is the key facility, and also they are providing software for these applications, for usages, for opportunity to reduce all those things. They are also providing. That is basically a software company. They have made it the second highest rated green building in the world that is available at Coimbatore. So I can say that use of solar water heaters reduces your billing, and also it is equivalent to growing nearly 60 to 70 trees. You may not be able to grow 60, 70 trees, but you can see that you can equivalently you can reduce the carbon emission by replacing the geyser to solar water heater. If you can adopt solar rooftop in your home, annually you can save nearly 9,000 rupees. But equivalently, it is equivalent to growing nearly 60 to 70 trees. That is really growing 60 to 70 trees is more important in this phase rather than your savings. This is the house I meant. This is a zero waste, zero energy, zero water discharge house. From this house, no waste goes outside except polythene and paper. Both are sold, both are recycled. So this house has a domestic biogas plant which consumes almost all the biodegradable waste that is generated in the house. This is the inlet part. You can put all your domestic waste, food leftovers, vegetable cuts, fruit cuts, then whatever the greens what you generate, all can go inside except polythene and paper. Then it generates gas which is placed in your house for cooking purpose. It is odorless. It doesn't cause any odor, no blackening, nothing. Just it is less danger than the LPG. It is less danger than the LPG. It is not danger when you compare to LPG. When you put waste today, you can cook tomorrow. That is this concept. So you can see that this is actual flame coming out of that biogas plant. Actual flame. This is the rubber tube that is coming from the biogas plant, and you can see that it is almost a blue color flame without causing any blackening of the vessel. No odor in the kitchen, no efforts, not much of efforts taken. It hardly takes 5 to 10 minutes of your labor. Even 5 to 10 minutes of your labor is taken when you carry the waste and go to the road bin and throw it away. That much of effort is required for this plant also. This plant doesn't require any additives. No maintenance is required. Only that it will give a liquid manure also. It will give a liquid manure also. That manure can be used in your organic garden to grow your vegetables and greens. So completely it is all your waste is recycled and used. This is a practical case study. And in this house has solar panels of nearly 1.5 kilowatts. This is the 500 watts. This is the 1000 watts, 1.5 kilowatts. This house also has a solar water heater. So all the energy requirements of that house is met by these solar panels. This house has not paid electricity bill for the past 7 years. So it is a zero energy house. Past 7 years, this house doesn't pay any electricity bill. And all the waste has been consumed by this house itself. Apart from that, if you have some more waste, you can put into this digester. This digester will consume any amount of waste. It is not removable. It need not be maintained. All this waste, what goes inside this digester, is automatically converted into manure and goes into the soil. And the nearby soil, all the soil are fully rich, and you can grow any plants. You can grow any plants in this area. If you bury this digester in your garden, you can grow any plants, any trees, and this will supply the entire menu for all these plants. This digester takes all the biodegradable waste that is generated from the house, including paper, not the polythene, including paper it takes in, and it digests years together. You need not clean it and you need not replace it. You can keep on putting your waste inside, and it gets digested into the soil, and it goes into the soil and enriches the entire garden in your house. It is a beautiful biodigester which has been this arrangement is manufactured at Coimbatore anybody can, any city can manufacture this. It's not a new rocket technology. Anyone can manufacture this. So you can see how beautifully greens are grown in the garden, and a lot of vegetables also is grown in this garden. So it is going to be renewables tomorrow. So any amount of questions, any questions can be taken, and it is, I revert back to organizers for organizing the question and answer session.
Sriparna madam.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can proceed.